What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I want to show you guys a quick update on where we've been with Loch Ness. And I actually had somebody DM me and say, hey, what's Loch Ness from? If you guys don't remember when we got this motor for this car, which was like almost, I don't know, 8 months ago now, Loch Ness is like a monster that came from the deep that nobody's ever seen or something like that. And the motor for this actually came out of F-150 that was like fully submerged in water. So Loch Ness is what we've been going with. The owner calls it the Grigio Fox. That's what his Instagram name is. So there is obviously a few names. There's nothing like set in stone on it, but that's what we've been calling it because it's interesting and unique, and we like that. So I want to show you guys where we're at with it today. We're going to show you a couple other things that are going on in the shop. This is going to be just a kind of a quick update. I've been working on it today for, I don't know, 5-6 hours. I actually got in on it. And what we did today was we had to do a major transmission modification. And the reason why is through our transmission manufacturer, we're dealers for Bowler transmissions. And when we ordered this transmission, it somehow came here with a GM front plate and input shaft. So whether it was a mix-up in communication or whatever, they took care of us on it. They sent us the parts needed. I volunteered to spend my time to swap it over and take it apart so we didn't have to send the whole transmission back, wait for them to modify, afford one, and then send it back to us. He just sent me the input shaft and the front plate. So I got that done this morning. It took me a couple hours, but it was also a reason to purchase a legit T56 master rebuilder kit. So I got that. So if you guys are local in the area and you need your Magnum or your T56 serviced, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to take care of it for you. We have the full master kit to do the entire thing, which is pretty handy. I had some homemade tools that I was using and I broke them trying to do this, so I just decided to purchase the entire kit so we can continue doing it. And seeing as we race stick shift cars, it just made sense. So anyway, that was the first half of the day. Second half of the day was actually installing that transmission, Stiflish cross member, which ran us into a few issues. I'm gonna show you those in this video. Kind of cool. You can actually see the shifters in there. I don't have the handle of the ball on it. Obviously that'd be silly. But it is nice to actually see something in that hole for once. The engine is now solid. Before you could like rock it back and forth because it's just sitting on motor mounts, but now it's fully in, K-member's fully in. The only thing that I've worked backwards on is I removed the bracket that I made for the proportioning valve distribution block because I'm getting that powder coated black, and I got to remove that because that hardware is ugly. So I got to swap that out for stainless hardware, and then I'll be able to put all that back in once that bracket's done from powder. But otherwise, the entire brake system has been finished since you guys seen it last. So I'm gonna put it up in the air because everything cool that we've done to it in the last few days is all underneath. So give me 1 second, put it up in the air. Show you guys the goods. All right, guys, let's check out the underneath of this project so far. I'm really happy with the luck that we had, and I'm just gonna call it pure luck. Obviously, it's a little bit of skill, mostly luck, in modifying these headers. So this is ARH Coyote Swap headers for the Maximum Motorsports K-member, which you can see the fit on this is actually really good. You can see my brake lines up there. But the fit on this is good. It's really close here, but it doesn't move, so that's okay. It is a huge pain in the ass to get the starter in, so make sure you put the starter in first, because we had to do all sorts of magic and loosen a primary, and it wasn't a good time. So we got the starter in today. But here's where the issue resides. Typically, this is a ball and socket style exhaust system, or at least the front half. You're kind of on your own for the rear half. All the ARH kits for something like this just terminate at the end, which that's not going to meet up with any factory exhaust like this. So you kind of always have to modify something in the middle. But they also come with a ball flange like this, and then it has obviously a female side on this mid pipe. So if you can just kind of visualize here, where this is cut is like right behind this V-band. They're not end to end, but they're pretty close. So that would have been there. And that means that this piece would have had a female flange about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch long. So it wouldn't have really started until way back here. Now, if you were to move this entire thing back to this 4 inches or so, by the time you did both, it smashed right into here. This hit this. Not bad. You probably could have trimmed it, although you would have like trimmed off the only corner that gives it strength. And it hit there. And then moving back, since we have this badass torque arm set up, we would have had a problem here. This front end of this torque arm mount sat in between here, and you would not be able to get this up high enough to get it to sit nicely. So our thoughts were, V-bands look better, work better, and they would allow us to shorten this up a lot, and that's what we did. Got some 3-inch stainless V-bands. You can see that we welded them on there. They're back purged on both sides. We had to knock the collectors off for all this work, so we could back purge it and make sure that the inside was nice and strong. Got good color on them, so they're cool. When people look underneath the car, it'll look really nice. But most importantly, it fit beautifully, and we did not need to modify the whisks at all. Just cut them there, and then we cut the flanges as close to the end as we can, and it literally slipped right into the V-band. Allowed us to tack weld them together for mock-up, and then complete the weld-in process. Really, really lucky, super, super happy. Only modification we had to make was here. So we heated this area up really hot, and then what we do when in a situation like this, because we've had to do this with the Stifler crossmember a bunch of times, we just heat up like an 18 mil impact socket, or I'm sorry, we heat up the metal and then use an 18 mil impact socket and hammer that at the angle that we need it, and that usually turns out pretty good because that gives us some pretty good clearance. Something else that we are trying to do with this is keep the exhaust super level. So you can kind of see with the body line, like that is like, it's like perfect. So the exhaust is like totally flat underneath this car. We're gonna try to keep as much ground clearance as possible because obviously we want to slam it. So this is probably gonna be the lowest point aside from the muffler. But this is still lower than this. So we'll be okay. No real major concerns here. Everything fits really good. I did tap up the floor here to make sure we can get the V-band in and out. And I actually thought that this was gonna end up higher than it did. But with the transmission almost all the way against the tunnel, this is where it ends up. So it probably really didn't need much clearance, but if you didn't have any added clearance, because I put about 3/4 of an inch here, if I didn't have that clearance with the floor, I would have a hard time getting this V-band clamp on and off. So it was worth doing it while the collector was off. Moving back to the second trouble area, this is pretty close to the mount. I'm not sure if you guys can see it in there. It's hard to say, it's about a 1/2 inch there, but it is like super solid. I mean, if I really bang on it, I can get it to go. And we still have to hang a full exhaust system off the back. That's gonna be all custom from here forward. And we're gonna get the fuel tank in it probably. Gotta go to the powder coater to get the straps. And hopefully that allows us to maybe start putting the fuel tank in and planning the fittings this week. Or definitely this week, but maybe even tomorrow. But we'll get to the future plans in a second in the video. Anyway, so we're gonna run these straight back to here. We got some Borla Pro XS mufflers on order. They're on their way. They'll be here in a few days to get us to this point. And then the rest of this is gonna be all kind of custom, getting it up and in there. And then we're gonna run it to a stainless tip. It's all stainless already, but we're gonna run it to a stainless tip. And we're actually gonna go from a 3-inch full exhaust to a 3.5-inch tip. And we're gonna ask you guys what you think about that, because hopefully in the next video, so make sure you subscribe, but in the next video, those parts will be here, and we're gonna be mocking up the tips, because we're gonna have to decide if 3.5 is starting to look too big. I know 4 would look way too big, so we're not going 4. But I wanna see if 3.5 fits the car, because I think it'll look a little bit tough. Obviously everything has 3, but if we can get a 3.5 to look nice on there, I think that'd be really cool. So, but the exhaust is full 3-inch all the way forward, and then it's got 1.3. I think it's got 1 7/8 headers. Might have 1 3/4 headers. Either way, it's an ample amount. The only other thing you guys haven't seen yet is the brake lines. So I feel that they're really nice. Obviously they're all bent custom. I got a junction block up there. They run along the upper torque boxes. I just riveted in the bracket with stainless rivets. They're really sturdy. And then I had custom soft lines made, so we kind of did our own deal on the whole brake line setup, which allows us to some creativity. So I bent all this. It was actually kind of fun. I should have showed you guys, because we did this whole rear line off the car with a tape measure and then plopped it on. It was cool. We ran it to the outside, so it's not in the way of anything. Those are also aluminum rivets. Ran the junction here, followed all the body lines in there. Then the rear line goes up in the engine bay, goes across the back, then comes back down on this side over to here. I could not do it without a junction right there. It would have been really, really difficult. So then I just had to make a little line that went up into the fitting. And then once again, custom soft lines on the front. We did have to put a bigger bump steer kit on it. You guys saw that addressed in the last video. We were having a problem with this. So I did end up just getting a new drill bit and drilling this out to a 5/8 hole. I actually needed 2 drill bits. So if you decide that you want to try to do this on the car, which is a bitch and ill-advised, you're gonna need 2. You need 1 for each side for sure. Because we used lubricant, went slow, all the tricks of drilling something successfully, no good. But now the angles match up a lot better. I haven't actually put the wheels on it yet, so I don't know how bad it is, but I know that the angles are way better, so we're on the right direction. So I'm thinking I'll be able to leave this control arm up here, but we'll see. We'll see about that when time comes later this week, because we have to get the wheels and tires back on it. We have to get it back on its weight, and we got to measure it for a drive shaft, because that's the last thing that is on the driveline side. Then engine, transmission, drive shaft, and rear end will all be assembled, ready for lubricants, and then we can move on. So what's left? Obviously, there's a huge list of building this car from scratch. So I'll give you guys a quick overview on what else we're gonna do at this stage of the game. So obviously, we have the exhaust pieces on order, like 80% of what's remaining. We're gonna have to order all the bends and stuff. So between the muffler and the tailpipes, I'm gonna wait till I have it all kind of mocked up and I have the mufflers where I want them, so I can kind of gauge what stainless bends I need to order. So that's gonna be its own one project in itself. I think tomorrow, you guys will see this, hopefully by the end of the week, I'm gonna start doing the front end fab stuff. So what front end fab does this need? Well, it has a tubular radiator support and a tubular bumper support. And I want to obviously mount fog lights in it. So I need to make something to come off maybe this bumper support and put a tab down here so we can hold the fog light here. Nothing stupendous. And then I think I'm gonna run from that mount to its mirror mount on this side, and put 1 bar just right across in case we decide to put an oil cooler, you know, maybe in like right here, put an oil cooler up here. I think that'd be a good idea. And if this car does start seeing some track time, it might even get boxed in around this to make sure that all this air gets directed only to the coolers in the front of the car. Some other fab work I gotta do once we get the fog lights mounted. We have to get the radiator a little bit more secure. The setup that's in it now would work. It's just sitting on rubber pads down here that aren't really gonna move once I tighten the top. And it has like that LMR black aluminum bracket. It would work. I think it would be fine, but I think what I would rather do is I'm gonna get the fan shroud on, get the fans mounted, and then I'm gonna put tabs here and here to bolt to these lower locations. I think the fans bolt to these big ones, and I'm gonna bolt to these lower ones, and I'll just put a tab pretty much straight up, push the radiator as far forward as possible, as long as the AC condenser can fit, which I think it will, and then just boom, boom, through bolt, and I know it's solid down here, and then the top will just have that clamp style. Then next is we're kind of attacking this in systems. So we did the whole brake system. I wanted to do the whole exhaust system, but I got the hard part out of the way, or not really the hard part, but the part I was worried about. The rest of it's all custom. It's almost easier starting from scratch than it is to modify something that's already supposed to work like this is. So I'm happy that this turned out as good as it did. But the next system is probably gonna be the cooling system. So mounting the radiator, the fans, I got all the thermostat housing, the top outlet, I got those done at powder. They're done in gloss black. So those are there. I have all the hoses to attach the stuff laying on the ground over there from Ford. You actually just use the Mustang stuff, so that's convenient. So we gotta get that on. Then following the cooling system, we're gonna move into the fuel system. Do that, plumb everything there, get the injectors installed, figure out what lines, where we're gonna run them. It's obviously gonna be PTFE, Fergola, fittings, everything's gonna be black. It's gonna be super sweet. I'm sure we'll end up running it just like we usually do, with having both lines down one side, having the regulator in one corner of the engine bay somewhere. But those are gonna be the major systems. Then we'll move on to the small nuances during the end of the week, which is going to be like putting an oil cooler adapter on, you know, figure out where we're going to put the oil cooler, where we're going to put the oil filter. We'll probably end up putting it somewhere up on the frame rail here, or maybe a bracket off this tubular, you know, weld something on here to mount to that tubular front bumper behind the fog light. But yeah, lots to do. But tomorrow you guys will see, or not, you won't see it till the end of the week, but tomorrow what I'm going to be working on is getting the fog lights hung and creating a crossbar, and it's just going to be out of 1/2-inch tubing. We actually got a bender to do small tubing, so it'll be nice to be able to kind of custom make that. I got a bunch of variety of tabs, got a smaller belt on it tomorrow. We ordered bolts for the rack. We ordered a new line kit to fix the old lines. I tried to refurbish the hard lines that are on the rack. They didn't turn out very good. So the one that connects the two boots, and then the two hard lines that control the left and right because the seal's in the middle, those are all going to get replaced. So otherwise the rack looks good, and the steering shaft and everything, all that stuff fits really nice. No problems, no complaints. So yeah, I think that is pretty much sums up the project as a whole so far. It kind of gets you guys up to speed on what we've been doing on it. We are looking forward to cruising this thing, obviously, and finishing it. I'm hoping that we're going to be starting this thing at the end of the month, and there's not going to be anything left once it starts. We got to do the whole interior, but that's staying as is, so that saves us a lot. But our goal is to really get this thing out on the road in August. So all right, make sure you guys subscribe so you can see this badass Foxbody on the road. If you have not seen the last video where we talked about the details on the engine and how sweet that is going to be, and the Holly and everything like that, then obviously click that link in the description down below, or check out some other videos on the channel. And in the meantime, stay tuned, subscribe, and hang tight for the next video coming out in a few days.